You're live, it says. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Well, it's better than being dead.
Well, yeah. Let's see if it works actually here. So, we're pretty close.
It was 11:05 yesterday.
Looks like we're working, and the audio looks good. So I think everybody's listening to me, wondering why is he saying funny things to me? Hello, good morning. My name is Norm Ellis. This is Grace Baptist Church Adult 1 Bible Study. Glad to have you with us in class and online. We're in Vancouver, Washington, and we're about to begin today. And we are going to be in Psalms. And this should be one that most people are familiar with. Psalm 23. And it's called God's Care. And we'll be looking at these three areas of God's provision, verses 1 through 3, God's protection, verses 4, and God's care, verses 5 through 6. And the main point we'll be talking about is God is our shepherd, a good shepherd. He is our let's try this again. God is our good shepherd who leads us daily. There we go, I got it out. We're in session number 11 today. It starts on page 96. So if you have a study book, you can follow along with that. Anyway, glad to have everybody here today. Let's go ahead and open with a word of prayer, and then we'll jump right into this great psalm. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for how you do provide for us, how you are that good shepherd, Lord. Lord, just thank you for the psalms that we've been studying, and for the psalms specifically also today, Psalm 23. Lord, I pray that you be with those who are on their way here. Keep them safe as they're traveling. Lord, I just pray for those who cannot make it, who may be ill, who cannot travel. Watch over them. And also pray for our upcoming worship hour. I believe we have a visiting pastor, Bruce Sloan, is going to be speaking to us. We look forward to that too. Thank you for all you've done for us. In your son's mighty name, amen. All right, so we do have some verses. I handed out the verses already. You thought you'd escape. Ha ha ha. No, just kidding. I do have one verse here. Now, I do have extra verses. If somebody really wants to do another verse, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll do these other two verses myself. Let's see. Probably should write them down. Well, no, that's okay. I can announce those later. All right. Hopefully, people can hear me above the noise of the fan. It's setup number 2, so it's not too bad. And let me see. I can check real quick. It's supposed to be a hot day today. We're getting kind of warm out here. I'll just leave it open just because that gives us a little extra ventilation, right? All right, so today we're, like I said, in Psalm 23. And I'm not even going to ask you what your favorite psalm is, because this is probably it. Most people, well, okay, it's the most familiar one. And it could conceivably be argued to be the most favorite psalm of most people who study God's Word up in the Psalms. And glad to have you with us. Come on in. And so we're going to be looking at today, hopefully we're going to look at it with fresh eyes, because the book of Psalms, Psalm 23 is, like I said, one of the most favorite ones that people have. There you And we are on number 11, which starts on page 96. But anyway, have you ever heard of the term that I didn't write down?
You didn't need to, it's here.
Huh?
I say you didn't need to, it's right here. Familiarity?
Well, yes, but I wanted for people watching online, right? So I'm going to write it down here and then I'll erase it. And make sure I write it right here. It's always embarrassing when I misspell things on this board because it has no autocorrect.
Well, he's doing that. I haven't met you.
My name's Brenda.
Brenda?
I'm
Nice.
Chris's wife, so he was here last week.
Hi, Brenda.
I'm Sharon.
I've met you briefly before, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't you bring him coffee too?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good deal. Yes.
Nice.
Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
So you've probably heard of this term before, right? Familiarity breeds contempt. How many have heard of that phrase? Most people have, right? So what does that phrase mean to you? What does that phrase mean? do you think?
Sometimes you get very acquainted with something or somebody, and we feel more comfortable and have untoward opinions about that, or say
Really?
very,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So there's some negativity to this phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? What does it mean to you when you hear this term?
To me, I think of like we start taking things for granted
Oh,
when they're
okay.
always there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's actually, it's interesting, this phrase. You know, you read different things and they say, oh, it came from this person. Oh, it came from this person. Oh, it came from these people. It came from that person. This is one of these phrases that nobody really knows. They think they know. Our intro paragraph today states unequivocally that they know. We're going to go ahead and read that right now, as a matter of fact. On handout number 1, the first page says intro paragraph. This is a copy coming out of the study book, if you want to look at that as well. It's up to you. That's on page 96, the first page. Anyway, it says the Roman philosopher Lucius Apelles is credited, among others, and I put the among others in there, with being the first to say familiarity breeds contempt. It means people can become so familiar with something that they begin to lose appreciation for it. That's a good way of looking at it. They start taking it for granted. There are a few Bible passages more recognizable than Psalm 23. In one sense, this familiarity is a good thing. In another sense, such familiarity with the psalm may result in a failure to carefully examine and appreciate the gold mine that is Psalm 23. So, can you think of an example from your own life, perhaps, where familiarity breeds contempt? You've run into that issue yourself?
Just in daily life, just family.
Yeah, right.
Take your partner for granted.
Yeah.
They'll always be there, and you start to not appreciate them.
You got to be careful with that. Marriage situations especially. Yeah, it can cause problems, right? Same thing for children. You know, your kids are familiar with you, and so they take you for granted, and they will do things with parents they won't try with grandparents or with other people. I've noticed. I have grandkids. They're great grandkids. It's so funny because they'll say, well, how did they behave when they were with you that day? Great. Really? Yeah. They pick up the toys? Of course they did. They don't do it for me because I'm mom or I'm dad, you know. No. They don't really mean clean up and everything. I can wait a while. No. But it's kind of funny how that happens, isn't it?
My great-grandson never hits, well, he's autistic, but he never hits me. But his dad, he hits and throws a fit with him. I tell him.
Isn't that weird?
He hasn't done that all day.
Because he's not familiar with you. She's not quite sure how you're going to react to that. But he knows how mom and dad will react, so I can get away with it.
Well, no, dad puts him in timeout.
Oh, well, okay.
But.
Yeah. But there's different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a good point. And I looked this up also on page 2 of handout number 1, which is the second page. I put a little bit more stuff in there too as well. It basically means the more you know someone or something, the more likely you are to develop a lack of respect or appreciation for that. And that's an important point. We've been talking about people, right? But that happens for other things as well. We can take our salvation almost in a contemptible way, can't we? We can take our association with other Christians or church attendance or something else, and before you know it, we're acting contemptible towards it. And it can be a lot of things like that. It can be our jobs, right? Sometimes on the job it's so monotonous, or you've had issues, you're not going to get any help, so you just get more and more contemptible about that. That has happened too. There's a terminology called road toad in the military. It means when you're getting close to retirement, and everybody knows you're going to be leaving. And so, they're not giving you the good assignments anymore. They're maybe giving you bad stuff and stuff. So you become, it's a natural type of outbreak of that because you've been there so long, let's say. It means, road is R-O-A-D. It means retired on active duty. You're acting like you're retired. And then toad, T-O-A-D, means tired on active duty. You're tired all the time. I'm tired of this job. I can't wait to leave and be retired. So it's kind of like you're getting contemptible in your job in that way. So I was in the military for over 30 years. So I can't help but think about those kind of terms that I've learned in those times. Anyway, going on, It means something or something. The more likely you are to develop a lack of respect or appreciation for that, and that's pretty good. I like that one too. Origin and usage. The saying suggests a close acquaintance can lead to a decrease in admiration, which somebody mentioned earlier could be terrible for marriages, right? It is often used in social contexts to describe relationships where initial respect diminishes over time. Contextual examples: friendships, long-term familiarity may lead to take each other for granted. We said that already. In professional settings, colleagues may overlook each other's contributions due to habitual interactions. You forget as a supervisor to do the warm fuzzies, and you only do cold pricklies. Because now that's another term I remember. A warm fuzzy is compliments.
Right.
Things that doesn't cost anything to you, but it helps that person's self-esteem. A cold prickly is the opposite. So that was bad. You did a rotten job in that report, but you don't ever tell them nice things. So familiarity sometimes happens there by the supervisor, right? It's a rare supervisor that remembers to continue to appreciate people that work under them.
In nursing, it's the same thing.
Yes. Cultural references phrase attributed to various sources, including William Shakespeare, who expressed similar sentiments in his writings. Also, Aesop's fables. You'll see that in the Fox and the Lion parable. However, some believe it first originated in France about 1340, and it was trop grande familiarité engendre and misprintment. I can't speak French, which translated too much familiarity breeds contempt. So anyway, this concept highlights the paradox that intimacy can sometimes lead to a lack of regard. So we love the 23rd Psalm, but we kind of get sometimes too familiar with it. We take it for granted. We're going to try to look fresh at it in our study today, and I hope you enjoy this study, because I think it should be a pretty good one. Anyway, we hear it all the time, don't we? We see it on greeting cards sometimes. We see it on things that are trying to comfort people. Maybe they lost a friend or a spouse or something like that. Or perhaps you've heard it at funerals. It's just a love. You've probably seen it on memes. Sometimes you go to a craft type place. Where they got all kinds of different things, and one of them will be a plaque, and you'll see it on the plaque with a nice last little pastoral view. So we see it a lot, right? Is the whole term. Anyway, who wrote? Start basically. Who wrote this psalm? Do you think? What'd you say?
David.
David is the answer. Ding, 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 ding. And actually, if you say David just because you don't know on the psalm, you're probably going to be right, because David wrote what? Many of the psalms.
Yeah.
Not all of them. He wrote a lot of them. And some are attributed to him, even though it's not listed. But this is pretty good that we know that David wrote this psalm. Let me see. I'm going to look real quick at the study book, because let me see. There's something called Understanding the Context. So I'm going to look at that really quick here. Give us a little breakdown before we actually study what we're going to do. We're going to give a little thumbnail sketch here on page 97. It says David wrote Psalm 23. He was both a shepherd and a king. He recognized the Lord as his shepherd and king. It may seem odd to bring the notion that God is king in the context of Psalm 23. However, the word shepherd in the Old Testament not only pertains to shepherds and fields watching their flocks, but also a synonym for king. Did you know that? I did not realize it was considered a synonym for him. Calling king shepherd began in the ancient Near East, at least back to the 3rd millennium BC, long before Israel was even a nation. Since many of these ancient kings referred to themselves as shepherd kings, which translated generally to generous providers, or strong protectors, or benevolent caregivers of their sheep, that is, the people they ruled. Therefore, it is no surprise that the Old Testament writers sometimes call Israel and Judah's kings shepherds. If you read through different various writings in the Old Testament, you'll see that. As shepherds, these kings were responsible for all the needs of their people, their flock per se, whether they were in the fields or on a throne. Shepherds were responsible for providing for every need of their sheep. Using shepherding language describes the responsibility of Israel's kings. God rebuked Israel's wicked shepherds or kings because they failed to perform their duties and took advantage of the people. Since the Lord was Israel's true king, he promised he would replace these deplorable or bad shepherds and shepherd his people himself, along with his servant David, who would be king and prince over them forever. You see that in Ezekiel 34, 1-6, and Ezekiel 37, 24 through 25. These passages when you read them, realize that the prophet Ezekiel is speaking of the future. Okay? After David. So he's talking about what? An ancestor to David. Who would that ancestor be, do you think?
Christ.
Yes, Messiah, Christ, right. And so these pastors anticipate that reign of Christ to come. In John 9:36-44, Jesus rebuked Israel's leaders. Then he declared himself to be the good shepherd who lays down his life for his sheep. What was he anticipating there? His crucifixion, right?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
He knew well in advance what was going to happen.
Yep.
And that he was kind and loving and
Yep. It says here is both royal and sacrificial language, and at the same time highlighting how, as our shepherd, the Lord provides for all of our needs. As we read Psalm 23, we have every reason to place our complete trust and confidence in the Lord, our shepherd. And most people have this pretty much memorized, but if you haven't, it's a great psalm to memorize. And you can say you've memorized one whole chapter of Psalms. Of course, it's only 6 verses long, but hey, it's a great one to memorize if you haven't done so, right? Someone also thinks about shepherds. In the first century specifically, and before that, the shepherds were known as those who led the sheep out. Okay? They didn't drive them. Today you see what? Shepherding going on, and what are they doing? They got ATVs out there, they're chasing the sheep, or they got dogs nipping at their heels, right? And that's great, you know, especially border collies are really, really good at it. They're careful with the sheep, they don't hurt the sheep. They've been trained to just come up to them and just stop and wait. And the sheep will say, oh, okay, there's that dog, okay, we'll go. And so that's great. But back in the Middle East, they didn't do it that way. Their philosophy was different. I think the sheep might have been a little bit smarter. They're still dumb, don't get me wrong, but they may have been a little bit smarter because they followed the shepherd. The shepherd would primarily lead the sheep. And the shepherd had a good relationship with the sheep. And another thing that I realized later in my life when I was doing some studies on this is they would bring those flocks back at night many times, if they were near a town, to a big sheepfold, they called it. There's a big enclosure, maybe with rocks and other things around them, to protect the sheep at night, okay? And they would bring them into this sheepfold, and then the shepherd would sleep in the doorway. If the wolf were to come in, or the lion had to come in, they had to go past that shepherd. He was willing to protect those sheep with his life, essentially. That's a picture of Christ, you know, of God, the Father as well. But he's protecting those sheep. He's protecting us, you know. And then the next day, a lot of times more than one flock would come in off the field. And then the next day, the shepherds would take their flocks back out, right, in the morning. And he'd call them. The sheep knew their name.
yes.
And he'd say, oh, my shepherd's calling me. And this big giant flock would then break out into all these smaller little flocks, would follow those shepherds out into the nice grass because they knew that shepherd was leading them the right way. And they trusted that shepherd. So that's a beautiful picture. It's different than the shepherding we see today, isn't it? Yeah. And so I said, maybe those sheep were smarter back then. I don't know. But anyway, so the kings were viewed as shepherds. Now, were they always good shepherds? No. They were doing it why? Well, some of the times they were born into being a king, right? Their father was a king and their grandfather was a king, and so they're a king now. Sometimes they did it through bloody conquest because they wanted all the goodies for them. And yes, I'll take care of them also. So I'm a shepherd, sort of, you know. But they're not always good shepherds, I'm getting at. But Christ is the good shepherd. We're going to talk about that here, how this looks forward to that as well. God in the Psalms. Yes, over here. Plus, I think this is my handout too. It might be the second handout. Has a copy of this as well. So the Psalms have described God in different ways. You know, shield, rock, things like that. Shepherd, 23rd Psalm, and the 80th Psalm does that quite well. And some of the other areas, I think, as protector and provider, Psalm 5 and Psalm 78. Because we're going to talk a little bit about that in this psalm as well. 23rd has parts of that. Yeah, there it is.
Number 3.
Number 3. Handout number 3 at the top. There it is, in the back.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's just to give you an idea. This is not just a one-time good thing. This is in many places talked about in the Psalms. And in many places in the Old and New Testament. And specifically in the New Testament, Christ refers to himself as that good shepherd. And I know my flock, he says. He knows who his own are. And isn't that reassuring that he knows us like that? It is, isn't it? So, and I also made reference to a timeline. There's a copy of that also in your handouts. It's not real important, but it gives you some context. Let's see if I do have it. No, I don't. That's funny. Oh, here it is. So you can see when the Psalms may have been written and different things happened at different times and stuff like this. It just gives you some idea of those kind of things. Which it really doesn't say that here, does it? Oh, here it is. In 605 to 538, during this period, God sent his people into Babylon captivity. This provided the context for Psalms such as Psalm 74, 97, and Psalm 137. And then there's other times that where David was king. Obviously, you see those kind of things as well. So, does David have any good insight on being a shepherd?
Yes.
What was he doing when Samuel the prophet came to anoint the new king when Saul was a dismal failure?
Beating sense into his sheep.
Samuel came to the house of Jesse because God told him that's where you're going to find Saul's replacement. Saul's disappointed me. He's on the outs. I'm going to find the new king. Right? And I know who it's going to be. You don't know yet, but I know. And he sent him to Jesse. And what happened there? Remember that story? First son came. Good looking guy. Tall. Strong. Great guy. And the prophet said?
Nope.
Nope. The next one came in? Nope. 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 That's all the sons.
Where is he?
Well, we do have one more. He's out watching the sheep. He was doing his job.
But Saul had already met David when he killed the Philistines.
Well, that's after this.
Was that after this?
Yeah, that's after this. But anyway,
that's how.
but so he pulls him in off the field and he waited. He says, "I'm not going to eat until I meet this boy out there watching the sheep." He was doing his job. He was watching his sheep. He was caring for them, and then Samuel anointed him to be the next king. It was after that then
the Philistine. All right.
So anyway, but he didn't become king immediately. This is looking forward. This is looking forward to. And it's a whole different story, and I'm probably taking too much time as it is on this intro here. So let's look at our first point. The first point is God's provision. I did write up here Jehovah Jireh. Have you heard that phrase before?
Yes.
There's a whole series of these, and I didn't write them down. I didn't have a copy to show you, but you can do that. Do a little study your own later on, and see all the different Jehovah things. There's like Jehovah Jireh and Jehovah Ra. There's several others.
I've heard it, but I don't know what it means.
And they're all names for God that they would use, especially during the Psalms, because the Psalms were what? Praising in song. They would sing these songs a lot of times as they're marching up the hill to the temple, or they sing it while they're in the temple, or different various times. And there was people that would lead the chorus singings and things like this. And a lot of these were sung. We don't sing them today. That's a sad thing because, well, we don't know Hebrew. So we don't know how it would go. We don't have the song. We don't have the notes, But people have done really, really pretty good jobs on some of the psalms. As a matter of fact, the 23rd Psalm has been put to music many times. Did you know that?
Yes.
And one specific time that when I was younger, in 1969, there's this man called Ralph Carmichael. Have you ever heard of that name, Ralph Carmichael, before? He wrote a lot of choruses. This was the beginning of the chorus age in a lot of ways, and he was kind of an instigator on that. And I have this one called the New 23rd Song or something like that. And so I was going to play that for you if I can find it real quick, and then if we have time, we'll sing it together. Well, we can sing it together now if you want to. You may have heard it before. Let me see if I can find it here. That's the $64 question. Can I find it? Because it was easy to find before. No, I'm not going to find it.
Just when you need it.
Oh, there it is. Okay. And this version is by some guy named Clifford.
That's a really nice version. devotion. It's called Young David for the kids right now. So,
Young David?
yeah, it's a cartoon.
Oh,
But
Okay, if you look at the last page of the handout, looks like this. And leads me by the quiet stream. He keeps on giving life to me, and he helps me to do what honors him the most. Even when walking through the dark valley of death, never be afraid, for he is close beside me, guiding all the way. He spreads a feast before me. In the presence of my enemies, he welcomes me as his special guest. Blessings overflowing, his goodness and unfailing kindness shall be with me all of my life, and afterwards I will live with him forever. In his home. In his All right. How's that? You guys like that one? I like that one. It's a pretty good one. Like when I was a kid, it was very popular, so that's probably why I like it. It was one that we sang at different youth meetings and things like that, and it was just one of those fun things to do at the time because it was hip, it was trendy, or whatever word you want to call it. But we kind of forget about some of those, don't we? Kind of forget about it. Let's go to the first one here. First point here. God's provision. For the first 3 verses, I want you to listen for words that reveal the Lord as a provider. Who has number 1?
That would be me.
All right, thank you.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake.
And you may have a different version. This is the New American Standard. One that many people are familiar with that Sharon brought up earlier is the King James Version, because a lot of people learned it that way, and it's like almost standard to know the 23rd Psalm in that. So I'm going to read that. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's." Anybody else have a translation they'd like to read for those first 3? How about the Holman? You got the Holman over there. No, don't you have the Holman?
no, I just brought the
You
King
brought
James.
your King James this time.
Well, I brought my
Right.
multiple translations
Right.
because
Yeah.
it has the King James.
CSB, I have that one, which is close to the Holman on this matter, right? "The Lord is my shepherd, I have what I need. He lets me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He renews my life. He leads me along the right paths for his name's sake." So, give us a good idea of these verses here.
And the Amplified,
How is, okay, go ahead and read the Amplified. Sure.
"The Lord is my shepherd, to feed, guide, and shield me. I shall lack nothing. He makes me lie down in fresh, tender green pastures. He leads me beside the still and restful waters. He refreshes and restores my life, myself. He leads me in the paths of righteousness, uprightness, and right standing with him. Not for my earning it, but for his name's sake."
Okay. Good. That's it, I think.
I got the Geneva translation.
The what?
Do you like it? You want to read it?
It's similar to King James,
Oh, okay.
but supposed to be closest that we have to anything.
Well, go ahead.
I said it's supposed to be.
Geneva Bible, the translation actually
Yes.
came, one of the first English
It's,
translations
yeah,
also.
reading it is funny because the word psalm has an end of E on the end of it,
Yeah,
so it's strange to read.
yeah.
But a Psalm of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to rest in green pastures, green with an E on the end of it, and leadeth me by the still waters. He restoreth my soul, and leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I
That's good.
should walk. Yeah, but it's.
You go, that's the next one.
It's
Don't want to take
similar
that
to
away from the next
King-
person. Yes, yeah. It's called Old English. It's really interesting because some of the Old English is very hard to read. It's stilted. Actually, the King James version, when it was first published, is that way. But it's been actually.
Yeah.
They don't want you to know this, but it's been revised many
The
times.
New King James.
That's a different one. That's a different one. But yes, but the actual King James version, that they say 1611, has actually been revised about 20 some odd times. Believe it or not.
The 1611 one?
Yes, it has.
That's,
Oh my word.
Yes, it has. I have a copy of the original. I can show you.
Yeah.
that's really cool.
It's a word for word reprint. Thomas Nelson did one of those, and it was really well done. But it's hard to read because the spelling's more than anything else.
Yeah.
That's what they cleaned up. It was all the
Yeah.
spelling because they spelled things differently in the first versions of like William Shakespeare stuff.
Yeah.
It's that kind of spelling. If you ever looked at
It's hard.
a William Shakespeare's first manuscript, copy of the first manuscript that he did, you'll see the same kind of thing. It's hard to read.
Kind of like trying to look at Roman because V's are U's.
Yeah. Very similar. Anyway, so we see some interesting words here that talk about God's providing, right? First of all, in the first verse, okay, what do we see about God's providing there?
Everything.
Okay,
Because it says, I lack nothing.
there you go. But it also provides what? A shepherd. We talked about the shepherd already, remember?
Yes.
And that shepherd, that means so much to these people who live in this agrarian society. And this is one of those $10 words. It means agriculture. It means animal husbandry, cattle, sheep. It means raising crops. So he's using this kind of a thing that they know all about. And he says the word shepherd. In their mind, they know exactly what they know. This man, usually a boy sometimes, who's leading these sheep every morning. These places where they gotta be to be successful in bearing the wool they need to, or the meat.
Protector, comforter.
Yeah. So that shepherd means a lot when you see that. So that's meaning a lot right there. And then, like you said, I shall not want. Now, what's another way of saying that?
Have need for nothing.
I have need for nothing. I think NIV says I lack nothing.
Yeah.
And it talks about this saying the Hebrew phrase relates to having a lack of emptiness or a lack of being deprived. A baby cries a lot if you don't provide everything all the time. And so it's the same kind of picture, right? You have this little child who needs to be taken care of. He needs to be fed. He needs his diaper changed. He needs to get sleep, and all these things. And guess what? The mom takes care of all those things. It's kind of that kind of picture, right?
Yeah.
So you lack for nothing. And his flock in that way has nothing to fear because they're being provided for all the things that they need.
And it's not only that he lacks for nothing, but then as Amplified says, he refreshes.
Yeah.
He gives comfort.
Yeah. And and the shepherd himself, David knew what it meant to take care of his flock, right? He knew that he had to not only, and we're going to see this later on, take care of it in their needs for eating good things, and also for drinking, but also protection. We're going to talk about that. It's coming up here. That's all related to what a shepherd does. What about the next verse 3? How does he provide us for his flock in verse 3?
He's giving peace to his soul,
Yes.
nourishment, water.
I'm saying verse 3. I'm sorry. You're right about verse 3. Verse 2. Skip right past it. My fault. What is he saying? How does he provide in verse 2? What are the things he does for us?
Gives you a place to sleep.
He gives him water, leads him to water, which was
Yeah, water.
in
right.
in that area, it wasn't always plentiful, so to lead him to where there was good water.
Yep.
It also says it's quiet waters. Because
Yes,
sheep
yes.
don't like noisy.
And before that, he has them relax where? In the green pastures.
Yes.
Now, was there a lot of green places out there? Probably not. You had to look for them. You had to find them. You had to know as a shepherd, well, I know this valley over here. When I get over this little hill, this is going to be a perfect spot. There's a stream running through it, and there's grass growing. That's where my sheep are going to be the best fed, and that's where they're going to be healthy because they're going there too, right? So you got all that type of thing going on in verse 2. And green pastures was something that was hard to find sometimes. So they had to work. The shepherds had to know where these places were so they could take nourishment. We need nourishment too, don't we? Our soul needs nourishment. And so we're seeing the same thing here with the green pastures and the quiet waters. And you brought up the quiet waters, and this is something I did not realize either until, I don't know, last some odd years of my life here. But the sheep got spooked easily. If you had waters that were running rapidly, you know what rapids are, right?
Yeah, I know.
And we like the babbling brook, but they didn't like babbling brooks.
No.
Matter of fact, this is something that was interesting to me too. The shepherds would find these streams, and they would build like a dam that would cause it to pool, the water to pool, and that would make it quieter. And so when they made that pool for the sheep, that natural barrier would like back up a little pool of water that was quiet.
Yeah.
And so they would then come up. The sheep would not be startled by the running waters. And so this was something they would do as well. The shepherds were real busy people. They knew, and they would take turns going to these places because they probably cooperated together, to make these places for their sheep to drink from. And this would provide them with a tranquil pool where the sheep would then drink from. So he provides us in that sense the same way that the shepherd provides for the sheep. God is providing for his people. He's given us in our lives those green pastures, maybe for our soul, and he's given us those quiet waters that we yearn for. Is the word I was trying to yearn. That's those kind of things we like in our own life. Now, so we think of quiet water. Oh, it's still nice to have quiet waters, but that's more than that. It's where they got their water from. It's where they got their sustenance from, and hopefully that helps you too to see what they're getting at here. So all that does what? Verse 3. Now, Steve, you said, because you had a good one there.
He restores my soul.
Yeah.
He basically gives you peace of mind and time to reflect on who he is.
So all these things lead to this, though, don't they? All these things lead to this act of restoration or refreshment. In one translation, it uses the word refreshment. And it says the Hebrew word suggests turning back or being returned. It paints a picture of sheep wandering from the flock. A caring shepherd would notice that it had strayed and would search for it. Once he found that sheep, he would lead it back to the flock. Isaiah said that the Lord would bring his people back to him after they had wandered. That's in Isaiah 49:5. Later, Jesus told a parable. Remember the parable about a shepherd who lost a sheep? What did he do? He went and looked for it. Now it says he left the 99 and went for it. I think he left it with other people, hopefully. But he was concerned, the head shepherd there was concerned and needed to find that one that had wandered and bring him back, right? So that's part of the restoration we're talking about here. So God works to restore our soul. Think about that. Isn't that nice?
Yes, it is.
And the last part of that, of verse 3, is something also. What does he do there? How does he provide for us there?
He leads in paths of righteousness.
How important is it to take the right path to somewhere? Now, I have had a recurring dream one time that I'm going somewhere and I took the wrong turn and I just could not find where this place was. Ever had a dream something like that? Every once in a while I have the same dream.
I had a son like that. Let's take this shortcut, Dad. We need to go this way. And he wanted to go that way. You're not going to get there from here.
But you got to be on the right path.
Yeah.
If you're going to go forward, you're going to go to what you need to go towards, right? You have to be on the right path. God guides us on that right path of righteousness.
When I was moving here from Alaska, I went 100 miles the wrong direction
Oh, no.
in the Yukon when I saw the sign that said east on whatever it was. I thought,
Uh-oh.
the ocean is west.
Whoopsie.
I have to go west.
Good thing good thing they put on there instead of just the highway name. Good thing they put that you're traveling whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just opened up all that new freeway through Tacoma where the curve is, and I like driving in the left lane. And it's not the lane you want to be in when you get into that area of Tacoma. You want to move over about 2 or 3 lanes.
Yeah.
Because we wound up crossing the Narrows Bridge.
Oh, I was just saying.
Missed the toll booth twice. Or the exit for the toll booth. Just drove straight through. Didn't even know the toll booth existed.
How long ago was this? Recently?
Probably about, let's see, was it 2015?
Oh, okay.
2014.
So the bridge had just gone in. The other
2016.
span had just gone in. You probably got dinged twice then because
Yeah,
they take
I
pictures.
got this thing in the I got this thing in the mail on my license plate because I didn't have the stupid
Yep.
sticker
Pass
on the car. Yeah. I
Yep.
keep getting them from Massachusetts too,
Well, I don't know.
but I just throw them in the garbage. and delete
Somebody
them.
with your name is really having a fun time going
No,
across bridges.
it's a scam to get you to call them.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. You gotta be careful with those things. Well, anyway, so what is it for the shepherd? It's important to take that right path to find those green pastures, to find those still waters, right? And to bring them to those places they need to be brought to. And so the right path is also guidance as well as restoration. So the flock couldn't see where a path would take them, but the shepherd knew exactly which path to take. God's people affirm his wisdom when they follow his leadership. We see that in Proverbs a lot, right? Proverbs 4:11 is a good example. It says, by following his guidance, the people became people of integrity. And also that's in Proverbs 14 there. In contrast, turning from the Lord puts a person on the path of violence. We see that in Isaiah 59:7. So, we talked about this before, and I've heard preachers talk about this. You're going a certain direction, right? But just the wrong direction. You need to repent. Well, repent is a Roman kind of terminology, military thing. It means to about face. So you're going that way down the path, like you were going the wrong way on the road or whatever it was. You had to about face and come back. That's right, you were going the wrong way. You had to go the opposite way, the correct direction. And so that's what's telling you is he's bringing you that correct direction on that path of righteousness. So there's been times, this is a metaphor for us in our lives, right? It's a word picture. So have you ever gone down the wrong path of unrighteousness? Many of us have, right? I'm not going to embarrass anybody by asking you. But sometimes we do, right?
Yeah.
And so this is, for us, words of wisdom. We want to make sure we're on that right path that takes us right. And why do we do it? Okay. It says for his name's sake. What does that mean, do you think? Oh, wow.
It means respect and honoring God's name.
Okay.
You're listening to what his instructions are.
Says shepherds earned a good name with their reputations. If they diligently cared for their sheep, people understood that they were reliable. They had a good name. It's important to have a good name. Everywhere I ever worked, I made it my job to know as much as I could about things so I could help whoever came in my door, or whoever I had to, being in the Air Force, I wanted to make sure I guided the airmen under me to do the right thing for fixing the planes or whatever it might be. I worked up in a prison for a while in the business office. I wasn't in there, except to work. But anyway, and I made sure I knew all the things to keep our staff happy, because it's important to keep staff happy in a prison. They want to make sure they get their overtime on time. They want to make sure they get their benefits right, and all that. And I was in charge of all that stuff. So I would make sure, and so they knew. Norm knew what he was doing. And then other people found out, and I would get calls from other prisons and say, Norm, how'd you do this? Norm, why'd you think it should be done this way? And I said, well, if you look at the contract, on this subsection right here, it says you have to do it this way. I never knew that. So I get calls like that. So that was kind of a neat feeling to realize, I've done what I should have done. And even though when I left, I got a real bad supervisor who said, that's enough, I'm not going to take this. So I'm leaving. I didn't have to work there because I'd retired already from the Air Force. So I was doing it just for fun almost. But anyway, they said, no, don't leave. Well, change my supervisor. We can't do that. Norm, please don't leave. They came down from Lacey, the head office. Norm, don't leave. Can you give me a supervisor? We can't do that. I got calls for a while afterwards.
Yes,
and
they
stuff.
can.
And no, they said they couldn't do that. But anyway, about a year afterwards, somebody saw me who knew me, who worked up there. I took care of his stuff, and he says, "We sure missed you, Norm. They're still messed up there. I'm not getting my overtime right." I said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Anyway, but a good name is important, right? To have that good name, and God has that good name, right? And that's what He's saying. And it says, similar to the Lord's good name was honored because He had led His people well. His guidance wasn't just for their benefit. He also did it for His name's sake. He wanted His people, His flock, to serve as a testimony to Him and His character. That's why God chose Israel. Because Israel was going to be His people. Remember that? To tell about God's good name, what God's done. To be that lighthouse for the world. Israel didn't do their job. We are those new Jews, you might want to say, in a way. We've been grafted into the God's family, so we are to do that. We're to do that great commission I got on the board on the wall over there, right? We're supposed to go into the world, make disciples, all the nations, right? So we can tie it to that as well. Let's look at the next one because we're going to run out of time and take too much time. Bad teacher. Let's look at number 2. God's protection. We only did one verse this time, so we should be able to catch up, right? Who's got number 2? Go ahead.
Oh,
What?
God's protection, number 2.
I got it.
okay.
Verse 4.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
Wow, okay. So, what does it mean to walk through the valley of the shadow of death, do you think?
Always looking over your shoulder.
What's that?
Always looking over your shoulder.
Always looking over your shoulder, okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm being
Yeah.
funny.
Seeing objects
I'm
in the
being funny.
shadows.
Walk.
Somebody's following me. Who is it? I had my translations here, and there was one I was going to talk about because it really spoke to that area. And now, of course, I'm not going to find it. Alrighty, what did I do with it?
I have the amplified
Well,
one.
Sorry. No, it's me. It's my fault. I don't have it now. Like it disappears on me sometimes.
The darkest valley, well, it says in here that the wilderness, the shepherds often had to lead their flocks through narrow canyons with dark shadows. The terrain was very difficult, and the robbers and the wild beasts, for an opportunity to pounce. Well, David, the Lord is his shepherd. He had no fear of that.
Yes.
Darkest valley, of the danger, the possible death, the danger, I don't know.
You're on the right track. It's exactly what I was going to say, actually. So again, he's usually going with this metaphor of being with a sheep, going through a dark valley. What can happen in a dark valley?
Anything.
Well, there's lions and bears in
Lions and tigers and bears. There could be robbers there. There could be lots of things that are dangers there. That's where you anticipate ambush, right? So yes, it's a dangerous thing. The shepherd would know this. People know that kind of thing, that culture, so they realize what they're saying there. And for us, it's the same thing. There's things in our lives that are sometimes dark valleys, right? That can cause problems. We've got to watch out for in our life. But it says, I will. Where was it? I will fear no evil. Now, another translation is the CSB, which agrees with the Holman on this too, as a matter of fact. Another way of saying this is, I fear no danger. I think that's a better way of saying it in a way. And to think about this, talks about here.
I don't think so.
What's that? Oh.
I disagree with what you just said.
Fear no evil?
Yes, I believe that's a
That's fine too. But I'm just saying it's another way to look at it, yeah.
Yeah.
But for some people today, it might be better understanding that.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
And it says, along with God's provision, David affirmed his protection. As he encountered serious troubles in his life, he also felt certain that no evil would come to him. The Hebrew word for evil can also be translated as danger. It suggests serious harm. But the term was used broadly in the Old Testament. For instance, in Exodus 32, is used to describe both a catastrophic judgment arising from God's wrath and also the wickedness of Israel. That term was used for that as well. So, but those things happen, right? We sometimes have these fears, right? But when the Lord is with us, when He's shepherding us, when He's leading us, He's calling us by name, we don't have to fear. We don't have to fear, do we? That's what He's saying. It's a relief for David to realize, I don't even have to fear danger. And we saw he lived his life that way in a lot of ways. Of course, there's times he failed. We know that. But he would put it up. They would say, well, why don't you just kill Saul? We have an opportunity to kill him right now. He's asleep right there. He says, no, that's the Lord's anointed. That's not what I'm supposed to do. He took his spear and staff or whatever it was, and he went off to a far distance. And then they woke up the camp and says, I could have killed you, Saul. See, here's your spear. Your people were asleep, but I didn't do it. He showed several times to Saul this kind of grace, didn't he? Anyway, so that's his way of showing that. It says, I would fear no danger, for you are with me. That's always good. But there's also something we can count on too.
Which also showed that the Lord indeed was with David because of his actions.
It talks about a rod and a staff. What is a rod and a staff? Any ideas there?
Your
shepherd tools.
Yeah. Can't do this. It's your power.
It's symbols of power,
That's-
but it's also instruments of power, right?
It's like an extension of his arm too.
Okay.
It's
Yeah. So you knew that the shepherd was not just a person by himself, but he had these strengths of these other things with him. So in the same way, that God has all power, all strength. And this shepherd was showing that, he was displaying that. We also know David also took with him something else too. It's not mentioned here. The sling. Yeah, very skilled in the sling.
Yes.
And he was able to drive off the bear and the lion that way, or kill them if needed be. Anyway, so what was the purpose of the rod? You probably got it right there. You said, I heard you say, it's right there, it's right there. What is the purpose of the rod?
It's used to correct, protect, and count the sheep.
Okay. Yeah, used in many ways, right?
Correct. I want you over this way.
Yeah. Okay. This ram's causing a problem here. Get over there. Get away from these guys. This other ram over here is fighting with you. It can be used to separate them out a little bit, right?
Yes.
It can also be used as a club. When the lion or the bear would come, this was a very heavy staff. In medieval England, have you ever seen Robin Hood or read the story of Robin Hood? What did they travel with? A big, heavy staff. Well, there was an account, it's all mythical, of course, of Robin Hood meeting Friar Tuck for the first time. And if you ever remember that story, it's a hilarious story. This friar, he's not very, athletic looking, kind of roundish. He likes to eat. And they're going across he's going across this footbridge, which happens to be like probably a big tree that fall over the thing. And Robin Hood wants to go. He's trim. He's athletic. He says, "Stand back! I'm coming through." No, you stand back. So what happened is they had a big tussle with staffs, almost like the lightsabers we see in Star Wars, except there's no power coming out of the thing. But they're the same kind of thing. They were using these staffs to fight each other, and they could be lethal weapons. Robin Hood was kind. He knocked him in with a whop on the bottom. If you watched the Robin Hoods on Disney, I don't know if that's the appropriate one or not, but whatever the case, or was it Robin Hood that ended up the drink? One of the two ended up the drink. I can't remember which one it was. I think it's Friar Tuck. But anyway, that was a picture of
Men in tights. That was a dumb one.
Well, no, I'm talking about that one. I'm talking about the good one, the good one, not the weird ones like that.
Robin and Mary.
So, what about staff? Oh, we talked about staff. What about the
Sean Connery.
That was the rod. What about the staff? What was the staff?
This says, used to guide the flock and rescue those sheep that got themselves into comforted him.
It was a staff that, like the rod in a way. It came up, but it's a little bit longer, and it curled at the end.
Oh.
That was the idea. So if a sheep got down there, you could pull them up out of off the ledge and bring them back up. It was used as an extension of the guy's arm. And again, it was used in different ways at different times. Let me see. Talk about the rod there. Where's the talk about the staff? I know I read that somewhere. The staff is the other tool. Longer stick with a crooked end. Yeah, I said that already. They used to guide the sheep. Somebody mentioned that, and keep them under control. Shepherds also use the staff to rescue sheep that had fallen in the ravines and got entangled in thickets and stuff like that. 8. Shepherd's staff played a memorable role in the history of Israel. The Lord prepared Moses for his encounter with Pharaoh by showing him how his staff could be used to perform miracles. Remember that? Aaron would throw down Moses' staff and it would turn into a snake. He'd grab a hold of the end and turn back into a staff again. And of course, the Egyptian magicians were able to replicate that, but except for the fact that Moses' snake ate up theirs.
Which is awesome.
So that was it. Anyway, what do these things do? They comfort me. They comfort me. And I don't think we have to take any more on that. But we get comfort from the fact that the Good Shepherd has ways to defend us. Sure do, don't we? Look at the last verse here. The last one is Psalm 23, verses 5 through 6. And I want you to listen for how David describes God's care for his sheep. And yes, they're going to ring the bell on me any moment here. Here it comes. I see him coming. He's going to touch that. He's going to touch that button. Here it comes.
Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about that. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So you can sit down and you can eat your meal, even though your enemies are around you, because I'm protecting you. I'm right here. Think about that. This is like the worst case scenario, you know, I gotta eat, I'm starving maybe or whatever, and the enemy's about to attack me all around me, but I can stop. And I can eat my meal peacefully. Because God is around me, He's protecting me. You know?
Sometimes, spiritually speaking, you think that happens today. You think the only thing we have is prayer, because all this stuff is going on.
Very powerful.
It says in certain translations, I think it was a feast type of thing. It talks about that in heaven, that we're going to be at the Father's table. It's going to be a time of feasting and rejoicing. We'll have no concerns, right? Because God, we're in His presence. And that's what David's saying. I'm in your presence. And not only that, you know, you're anointing my head with oil. That's another thing. We don't have time to talk about it, but that's showing God's blessing on you. Oil is also associated with the Holy Spirit. It's saying that God is with you, and your cup is not just full. It's not up to the brim. It's overflowing. He provides an abundance that beyond you can even think about. And then the ending is, surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And think about that. We have no more concerns because we'll be in God's house. He's His place, His abode. We're with Him. That's a great picture, guys. That's a great picture. I hope the insight we had in Psalms 23 today helped a little bit. Familiarity can breed contempt, but I think looking at it harder like this is great. Great. Let's have a word of prayer here. Let's see. Did I forget? Did everybody get a chance to read the things I gave them?
Yeah.
I think at least will be up there. Oh, wonderful! God is with us. You know, we should have that kind of feeling and realize that. And the third point is, because God cares for His people, we can rely on His goodness and love. We can count on it. It's there. It's written down. It's there. Corrie ten Boom. Everybody knows who Corrie ten Boom is? Never heard of her? She wrote something called The Hiding Place, about her experiences as a Nazi war prisoner in a death camp. Her sister died in that camp. She survived. Anyway, she went on to write that book, The Hiding Place, about her experience. A quote attributed to her aptly describes Psalm 23. Quote, "If you look at the world, you will be distressed. If you look within, you'll be depressed. If you look to God, you'll be at rest." I like that. I like that. It gave her peace and joy, knowing that she could. That's what we need, folks. We need that, don't we? Think about, this is rhetorical, think about some ways that God has provided or is providing for you right now. You know, and rejoice in the fact that He does that, you know. The challenge from our study today is to truly rejoice that God is our great good shepherd who continues to lead us every day, every minute. Also, to position ourselves to find ways to live in faith and not in fear. That's the challenge for our thing today. I think we should be able to do that, right? Anybody got any last comments or questions? Do you like this song? I love this song, okay? I love that song we sang because it pretty much puts in a lot of modern language this psalm. If you read through those words, that's why I printed them out for you guys. All right, let's have a word prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the Psalms in general, Lord, and specifically for Psalms 23. How it speaks to our lives, how it speaks to our souls, Lord. Lord, I pray that you'd help us to fully realize how you are providing for us and how you give us your presence and your protection, Lord, and how you show us that right pathway in our lives. Thank you in your Son's precious name. Amen. Amen. Sorry we're a little bit late. I always go over. I apologize. Thank you for being with us.
Can I see the phrase you just said about Corey?
Corey Tendo?
Yeah, I want to look it up.
And actually, I also have a...
Is it in the handout today?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me just do the name and then I'll...
Mid-80s, I picked up a book.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Thank
your time.
thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Philip
Yeah.
Keller. It's,
Okay.
yeah, he was Canadian. The book was A Shepherd's Look at the
I'm gonna
23rd
finish.
Psalm. And if you can find a copy of it, it's worth it.
Thank you for being with us today online as well. And I pray you stand by for the next hour.
I'll forget.
And on the same YouTube channel, Bruce Sloan will be our guest
Do I
speaker
have your
today.
phone?
And God bless you all.
Think you do.
Excuse me. Can you hold that for a second?
Very Ellen does. Well, that doesn't mean you do.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You have Burns? Well, I'll give you mine. Oops, I'm so sorry.
All right, we are off
Yes,
air.
I have
Oh, Cindy.